Shortly after I retired from CIA, I got a phone call from some colleagues back inside the US intelligence community. I was asked to come in and sit down and talk with some digital and cyber leaders who were trying to solve hard problems. And one of those problems was workforce retention, just losing people out of the SOCs and out of the cyber workforce that as they got experience and off they go and they end up being poached by private sector companies. The questions that started coming at me from some teammates back inside the intelligence community were really centering around how can we maximize the efficiency and the speed of our workforce. And the real number that was thrown down was, hey, Brian, what do you think we could do to sort of 10x the impact of our workforce? My name is Brian Carbaugh, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Andesite.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries.
I spent 6 months moonlighting.
There's nothing on the back end.
Who share what it takes to change an industry.
I don't exactly know what to do next.
Took many goes to get right.
Who built the teams that have their back.
A company is its people.
The teams help each other achieve more.
I was proud of our team.
Keeping scalability top of mind.
All that infrastructure was
Yes, we've been fighting it as we grow.
Total waste of time.
The stories you don't read in the headlines.
It's not an easy thing to achieve, mind
Took it
you.
off the shelf and dusted it off and tried it again.
To ride the ups and downs of the startup life.
You need to really want it. It's not just about technology.
All this and more on Code Story. I'm your host, Noah Labpart, and today how Brian Carbaugh is building the SOC driven by AI, empowering cybersecurity teams to remain at the helm. Today's episode is brought to you by .tech Domains, and this one hits close to home. Back in 2016, I was building my startup and went hunting for that perfect .com and found next to nothing. So I did what every founder does, settled. Here's what I wish someone had told me. You're building a tech startup. Just get a .tech domain. It instantly tells investors and customers what you're about. Don't overthink it. Secure your .tech domain today from any registrar of your choice. This episode is sponsored by Unblocked. Unblocked is the context layer your agents are missing. It synthesizes your PRs, docs, Slack, and tickets into organizational context that agents actually understand. So they make better plans, write higher quality code, use fewer tokens, and require fewer correction loops. If you're running Claude Code, Cursor, or any agentic workflow, Unblocked is worth a look. Learn more at getunblocked.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by Mesmo. If your team is collecting large volumes of logs, metrics, and traces, but still struggling to get timely answers, Mesmo can help. Mesmo is an active telemetry platform that processes and enriches observability data in real time before it's stored or analyzed. That means lower data volume, lower cost, and faster root cause analysis across your existing observability tools. To see how it works, get a demo at mesmo.com/codestory. That's MEZMO.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by BrainGrid. If you are building with AI coding tools, but your features keep breaking, you need to check out BrainGrid. It is the product management agent for AI builders. BrainGrid turns messy ideas into clear specs, tasks, and prompts that coding agents like Cursor and Claude can actually build the right way. Ship real software, not fragile prototypes. Start free at braingrid.ai. Brian Carbaugh has a non-standard path to being a CEO in the startup world. He was in the Marine Corps for 5 to 6 years in active duty before attending Georgetown for school. Eventually, he joined the CIA and spent 23 years serving the country in multiple different roles and facets, primarily in paramilitary and covert operations. While he was there, he also started to see areas where the agency could innovate and got curious about how they could partner with private companies. But outside of technology, he is a father of 3 girls and a boy. He enjoys working out, skiing, and riding on road bikes. He used to do triathlons in the past, but startup life has taken up any time he could dedicate to that. Shortly after he retired from the CIA, Brian got a call from some prior folks he knew still in the industry. He started digging into the cybersecurity world, specifically into why there was so much attrition amongst the employees themselves. He was asked the question about how he could 10x these workers and optimize these individuals using the latest tech. This is the creation story of Andesite.
Andesite is really at our heart and soul a data analytics company, and we're trying to use advanced data analytics to solve really hard, pernicious, long-standing problems. Our first product that we built off of what is truly sort of a platform approach is a cybersecurity product for the Security Operations Center, so for the SOCs. And as you and your listeners know, the SOCs, it's a complex workplace, it's fluid, it's dynamic, there's a lot of blinking red lights, there's a lot of alarms going off. It's just a very frenetic, chaotic, busy place. It also happens to be incredibly important work, right? Noble work protecting our networks. There's awesome people who go into the cybersecurity domain. So what we looked at and what we've built, Noah, is a product that uses advanced technology. Obviously, we're using AI. It's at the core of what we do, as well as some really disciplined approach and creative approaches to data science and technology software development, and pairing with elite cybersecurity professionals, people who've spent their careers in this space, to bring a piece of technology really that has the human operator, that cybersecurity analyst, at the center of all that we do. So we like to say, and we're proud of, the fact that we have built technology to very elegantly wrap around the user, to wrap around that cybersecurity practitioner, with the goal of being, let's make your life easier. It's a stressful place. There's a ton of burnout. There's no reinforcements on the way in terms of all of those cyber vacancies, a lot of empty seats. So we want to use technology, certainly not to replace the human, but to make the humans better, faster, stronger in making decisions to reduce risk. So again, at our center, what we do is transform and accelerate the accuracy of human cyber work to reduce the risk. It actually started shortly after I retired from CIA. I got a phone call from some colleagues back inside the US intelligence community. I was asked to come in and sit down and talk with some digital and cyber leaders who were trying to solve hard problems. And one of those problems was workforce retention, just losing people out of the SOCs and out of the cyber workforce, that as they got experienced and got to that point where they're that tier 2 or tier 3 cyber operator that we know, they're off they go, and they end up being poached by private sector companies who can move faster and they could get their hands on the latest technology. The questions that started coming at me from some teammates back inside the intelligence community were really centering around, how can we maximize the efficiency and the speed of our workforce? How do we optimize? And the real number that was thrown down was, hey, Brian, what do you think we could do to sort of 10x the impact of our workforce? And as we started looking at it and ideating on how, if we were going to build our own company to try to do this, or how we would advise those back inside the building on how to do it, it started to center around just how fast the technology is changing, right? So if they asked that question 5 or 6 years ago, AI just wasn't there, right, to be able to move at speed and scale. But we're at a new point. We're at I think, an inflection point, infusing new technology with the right type of approach to optimize a human being. So the roots of the company stem from folks who are defending some of the most targeted organizations in the world, saying, we need help. The light is blinking red in terms of our overall sort of ability to do what we feel like we need to do to counter the threat. So we went back to Red Cell, and I sat down with Grant and started making some phone calls, phone a friend, some people who were really thought leaders and experienced in the space, like Billy McMillan, who is our chief product officer, who at the time was functionally the deputy CISO at Salesforce. He had been the chief information security officer at CIA. Billy had been someone like me who served on the directorate of operations side within CIA and had what he describes as a digital conversion about halfway through his career, and really started aggressively taking on driving and leading CIA cyber operations from offense to defense. So I reached out to Billy when he was still at Salesforce and started to lay out for him what we were considering and an approach, strategizing different types of approaches we could take. He's a lifelong friend of mine. We went to college together, and was thrilled when Billy came over, joined Andesite as, I think, employee number 3 or employee number 4 as our chief product officer. And it was really then that, with Billy on board, Alex Thaman, who was our chief architect at the time, who's our chief technology officer now, Billy and Alex really started product visioning, pushing this thing forward again, with its core idea, the genesis being, we've now seen and heard from government sector teammates that they've got workforce issues, they're struggling to keep up, they've got siloed data, they've got context challenges, a context tax, essentially, where you're losing the sort of crux of the issue you're investigating just through all of the different screens you have to toggle through. And then we were hearing the same thing from teammates in the commercial sector. So we looked at it and said, there's a broad problem. It's pervasive. It's in government and in commercial space. Let's build a team that is in itself diverse and takes a broad approach, but an aggressive approach to not try to solve a down market point solution problem, but let's look at the real scope of the problem, build a platform, and really try to get after it.
Let's dive into the MVP then. That first, version of what you built. How long did it take to build, and what sort of tools were you using to bring it to life?
The MVP, that's going to be a challenge for any startup, right? You want to make sure you're balancing your own beliefs in how you and your team want to approach the problem, but you're also starting to merge that with what you're hearing from potential customers or design partners. A couple thoughts on how we approach MVP. Number one, what none of us wanted was to be ideating and building in an echo chamber. I think for us, one of the real advantages as we started to build out our MVP is that we're coming at it with a very diverse team. And I've already hinted at some of that. Billy's background, I mentioned, he's the real deal in cybersecurity. Alex Thaman didn't come from the cybersecurity space, and that's by design. So Alex had spent 15 years at Microsoft doing large language model, computer vision stuff. He'd been at Scale AI. So Alex is a pure technologist with a track record of solving super hard problems at speed. And then we just start layering around Billy and Alex, a team that has the requisite expertise to be credible in the space in which we're operating. So in this case, again, like we talked about, we're going after that SOC landscape, the inefficiencies and the risks. They're in the SOC. So you got to have people who've walked the walk, right? They felt those pain points. So we recruited a team of super high performing Apex threat hunters out of the CIA, out of NSA, out of US military cyber units, out of top tier private sector cybersecurity teams. Ones who felt those pain points, who know what it's like to play that sort of technology twister and spin around from one piece of tech to the other, try to keep that thread of context all throughout. And then alongside them, we layer in the type of technologists who have a background, again, in being a part of a diverse team, solving problems very quickly. So that MVP starts to come together when you have a diverse team all moving in the same direction. And then when you layer in something that's important for us, and I think we'll get to it later in the conversation, I think there's a cultural component to this, right? Where we didn't want to go at this with a lot of hubris and feel like we know exactly how to solve the problem. For sure, we have our own ideas and we have people who, as I've said, have come from that space. But even very early on with design partners, with really focused questioning of friends and CISOs and cyber operators in the ecosystem, a high degree of humility, right? So ask the question and have the humility to listen to the answer. And if it doesn't match with what your expectations are, then you need to pay some close attention to that. So what we didn't want to do is build a piece of technology, build an approach that is going at trying to solve the problem in a way that would not resonate with our customers, that wouldn't resonate with the human users, and that ultimately would just be something that sat on the shelf and didn't get used. So that push for MVP, have a diverse team, a lot of humility, no echo chamber. And I think as we've layered in engineering and product expertise, strictly people who've had real reps and have put real time and cycles in the startup space, that was huge. And again, from your background and all that you've done, speed matters. So when you're developing that MVP, you're on the clock and you've got to be able to make decisions pretty quickly as a team. Fail fast if you have to. Take that feedback on the chin that you're getting from your early design partners and be able to turn around very quickly and get that MVP out to market so you can start to refine it moving forward.
This episode is sponsored by BrainGrid. Building with AI coding tools is exciting until the moment things start breaking. You ask for a small change and suddenly 3 other features stop working. AI gets confused, misses edge cases, and loses track of your intent. The problem is not code generation. The problem is planning. That is why BrainGrid exists. BrainGrid acts as your product management agent. It writes clear specification, maps UX flows, asks the clarifying questions you forgot to ask, and breaks big ideas into engineering-grade tasks that AI coding tools can build reliably. It guides Cursor, Claude Code, Replit, Windsurf, and others so they deliver features that work and keep working. Founders use BrainGrid to build real AI-native SaaS products without a technical background. If you want reliable features instead of fragile prototypes, try BrainGrid for free at braingrid.ai. That's braingrid.ai. Today's episode is brought to you by .tech Domains. And this one hits close to home. Back in 2016, when I was building my own tech startup, I went on the hunt for that elusive .com. Looked high, looked low, and guess what I found? Nothing. What I did find cost me an arm and a leg. So I did what every founder does under pressure. Threw in extra letters, settled for the less than optimal name. And here's what I wish someone had said to me back then. Noah, you're building a tech startup. Just get a .tech domain. Tech startup, .tech domain. It could not be more obvious. It tells investors, customers, and anyone who looks at your website, really, that tech is at the core of your build. And I've kicked myself plenty since, especially when I see the clean and sharp names tech companies have landed on .tech. Nothing.tech, 1x.tech, Aurora.tech, CES.tech, Ultra.tech, Alice.tech, Neon.tech, Blaze.tech, Pi.tech. You get the idea. So take it from someone who learned it the hard way. If you're building a tech startup, don't overthink it. Secure your .tech domain today from any registrar of your choice.
So then you get to that point, right? You've operated with humility. You start to layer in the folks that have the reps. I'm curious about, roadmap, right? And how did you progress and mature Andesite? And I'm curious about how you built that roadmap. What sort of criteria did you go through to figure out that, okay, this is the next most important thing to build or to address?
On that next most important thing on the roadmap, and I'll definitely get your question here in a second. I was having a conversation with someone who's in the human capital business, and she's really top tier in placing C-suite leaders in portfolio companies of one of the country's largest private equity firms. And I asked her, I said, what do you see? You've been doing this for years. You're placing people in these super consequential jobs and C-suite roles. What do you see as a common characteristic across the teams that are the most high-performing teams and companies that win? And what she said was the teams that have a super diligent focus on the top 3 priorities, and the whole company knows what those priorities are. And if it's not in those top 3 priorities, then you're out. We'll get to that later. So for us, when we look at the roadmap, we as any other startup would have to be, really any other business, you have to be focused on what are our priorities. For us, with full credit to Billy McMillan and to Alex, we have had a product North Star roadmap from the very beginning. We iterate with our earliest design partners. We iterate with our customers. We have a customer advisory board on whom we rely, people who are senior in this space, to see and bounce things off them, right? Is this product moving in the right direction? Is the platform moving in the right direction? So I think, 1, have that roadmap. You have to. 2, have that product North Star, and don't too rigidly adhere to that. It isn't something you want to be changing every quarter, or you're going to give yourselves and your company whiplash. So you want to revalidate that product North Star and make sure that that is in fact the direction in which we need to be going. And then for us as a leadership team, decisions that we make in terms of hiring, staffing, where we're investing our capital, our human capital, where we're investing our financial capital, that all has to tie into sort of what is that roadmap? What is that product North Star? And what are we hearing in terms of customer feedback? One of the things I'll add there too is because from the very beginning, we wanted to build a platform, as I said. We wanted to build something that solved problems in the toughest enterprises. So highly regulated industries like financial services, the national security space, critical infrastructure. We knew going into that, we've got to be able to take a strategic approach to this. And you've got to be able to listen to some of those buyers, because they can become some of your most effective sort of advisors in some ways. That roadmap, super, super important. We find ourselves going back to it a lot. Like I said, we're doing monthly reviews to make sure that we're on track, but we're not too rigidly adhering to that roadmap, because I think in that too, there's going to be risk. So the way forward matters. The technology, the environment is changing so fast. Just look over the last few weeks here with you saw tremors in the market with what Claude is doing. You hear feedback from investors, you hear feedback from others. It's the death of SaaS. It's none of those things, but it certainly can cause you, and should, if you're in a leadership team, to make sure you're revalidating your fundamental principles. You're looking at that product North Star, and you're able to be dynamic as the market is going to be dynamic as well.
Let's flip to team. You're layering those people, you're building a team to make this thing happen. How did you go about, finding those people, and what sort of criteria were you looking for to indicate that they are the winning horses to join you?
Team dynamics, I could nerd out on that for a long time. I'm just a firm believer that teams win, no matter what the scenario. I mentioned when we started our conversation, my background in CIA, and I have to say, of the things I look back on about which I'm most grateful and have the fondest memories, and some of the best sort of learning examples and opportunities I had is being on high-performing teams, like seeing leaders out in front of me whom I wanted to emulate, who built that winning spirit, made sure that everyone on that team felt seen and heard, shared the vision, and built empowering teams with like high humility, super low ego. That dynamic for me left a lasting impression. I also saw as I got more senior, you see the real value of having, back to that diversity, right? The last thing I would want to do, my last role when I was CIA was the director of the Special Activity Center. So it's the home of all of CIA's covert action capability, the men, the women, and all of the things that you would imagine go into ensuring that CIA, when called upon, is able to carry out very creative, very aggressive global covert actions on order. The last thing I would want is to look across a room and see a bunch of people looking back at me who look and think just like me, like that. I think that echo chamber creates a lot of risk for leaders, a lot of risk in decision-making and blind spots and bias that creeps in. There's a lot of danger there. So for me and for Alex and Billy and the other leaders at Andesite and with Grant for standing as well, when we sought to build out the team, we wanted to have, again, that diversity of approach, diversity of background. We wanted people with a high degree of resiliency, people who, if they hadn't had an opportunity to be in a startup, that's okay, but they've shown that they're in teams that were super fluid, super dynamic, and you might find out on a Monday that what you thought your week was going to be all about is really not what you're going to be doing at all. It's going to be something quite different. And you've got that resiliency, right? You can bounce back when things don't go your way. It's a high trust environment. So there were definitely some intangibles that we look for. I hand out a book all the time by James Kerr. It's called Legacy, and it's an awesome book on leadership. He uses the All Blacks, the rugby team, as a platform to say, how do you build a winning culture? Like, how do you build an organization that just wins year in and year out? And being able to build that team of diverse thinkers, of people that buy in and invest in the culture of an organization, that invest of themselves in mentoring and helping others. That's what we look to as we built the team out. And when we started to scale, we're sticking with that.
This episode is sponsored by Mesmo. If you're responsible for reliability, performance, or platform architecture, you already know the problem. Telemetry volume is growing faster than teams can manage it. Mesmo addresses this by moving observability upstream. Instead of storing everything and asking questions later, Mesmo processes telemetry in motion, filtering, transforming, and enriching logs, metrics, and traces before they reach your observability backend. The result is cleaner data, reduced ingestion costs, and faster root cause analysis using the tools you already rely on. Mesmo integrates with platforms like Datadog, Dynatrace, and open source stacks, giving teams more control without adding operational overhead. This is especially useful for platform engineers and SREs supporting complex distributed systems where context and speed matter. To see how active telemetry works in practice, get a demo at mesmo.com/codestory. That's MEZMO.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by Unblocked. Your coding agents have access to your codebase. Maybe you even connected other tools via MCPs. But access doesn't mean context. Agents can't reason across MCPs. They don't know your architectural decisions, your team's patterns, or why the API was shaped the way it is. So agents look in the wrong place and deliver bad outputs. Then you spend time correcting. More loops, more tokens. Unblocked is the context layer your agents are missing. It synthesizes your PRs, docs, Slack, and tickets into organizational context that agents actually understand. So they make better plans, write higher quality code, use fewer tokens, and require fewer correction loops. If you're running Claude Code, Cursor, or any agentic workflow, Unblocked is worth a look. Learn more at getunblocked.com/codestory.
Okay, let's flip to scalability. And this could be, approach in early days of how you thought about scale and you're building your early product. But I'm curious if there's been interesting areas where you've had to fight it as you've grown.
For sure. Scaling's tough. There's obviously so much hanging in the balance, right? There's just risk on so many sides of that. And it comes with challenges for sure. So a couple things I look at for us with scaling. One thing that helped us just from an engineering and from a platform sort of technology architecture approach, not just from the team standpoint, from a tech first. We went at it early on and we looked at it and said, if our ideal customer profile is going to be a large, well-resourced enterprise cybersecurity team, forward-looking, we've got to have a piece of technology that is compliant in that environment. So we, from the very beginning, with our seed investment from General Catalyst and Red Cell Partners, with the support of our board and the leadership there, went hard at a compliance approach that we referred to as compliance high. For a startup, we're FedRAMP high, SOC 2 Type 2, I joke, the letters, all the numbers. And for us, that's a real investment in money and in people and time and engineering cycles. It's also an investment in culture, right? Because you have to do things that maybe from some viewpoints might seem as if they're drag-inducing rather than lift-inducing because it slows you down. But in the end, we've looked at the compliance thing and said, this is a key market unlock for us. And at this point in our journey, that vision, again, which I credit to the rest of the team, has very much been realized. So for scaling, it is something that because we have already met so many of those requirements, for enterprise buyers, for our channel partners who are moving our technology to market, as we look to expand to international markets, us being able to have all those pieces in place already has greatly enhanced and facilitated our ability to scale. So that compliance side thing has been key for us. The second thing I'd say is cultural thing where, finding that right balance in scaling between speed and maybe being overly methodical, right? Speed and momentum matter. And in the startup world, that said, so does credibility and ability to deliver on your promises and deliver on what your customers are expecting you to bring to the fight, if you will. So as we're looking to scale and as we've been building out the team, it's been with a very clear eye, again, on that. What's our product North Star? What's our roadmap? What are we hearing from customers? Customer success. I think in this market, in the AI SOC space, where there's just a ton of noise, customer success is a big thing. And we're a team of people who listen to what our customers are saying. That's also helped, I think, for us kind of factor into our ability to scale and maybe not hit as many of the potholes as what you might expect.
Brian, as you step out on the balcony and you look across all that you've built thus far with Andesite, what are you most proud of?
For that, Noah, I'd say I'm most proud of the team that we built, and more to the point, the culture that the team has now for quite some time been really on their own, helping to further instill, to advance, and to share across the company. That for me is by far the thing that I've given me the most gratitude and satisfaction in the job. At the end of the day, life happens, and we've got an amazing group of people who have lives, everyday lives, and things that they're doing. They're committed to this and to the mission. I think, again, as we shared, I just have a lot of immense respect for people in the cybersecurity space who are, regardless of where they work and what role they play, this work matters, certainly now more than ever. Look at what our country is up against right now internationally and at a heightened risk of cyber attacks. But I say that to say that it's a team that's got a lot of empathy for the people who are prosecuting the mission, for the people we're trying to deliver the technology for so that they can use it and make their life better, right? So that they're not going to work every day, sitting in their car trying to psych themselves up to go in there and go do the thing. And they know that they've got a company like Andesite and a product that is really developed all about them and to empower them. So to see that mission-first, mission-focused culture start to spread organically, where you've got people who now it's, for the last 2 years, I'd say, it's less of something that the C-suite really directs our time and cycle that. It's the culture part being certainly very important to us, but we've got a company now of people who buy into that and see that having empathy for your teammate, being there for your teammate who might be struggling, helping out, take a look at some code. If someone needs it, being available to take a question on a weekend, being available to say, hey, I feeling open enough to say, hey, look, I've got to take a day or two. I've got stuff going on in my life right now. I need to reset. Let's do it, right? We take a long-term approach. Attracting and bringing the right type of people onto these types of teams takes time. So we want to protect them and make sure they love what they do in terms of the mission and they love being on this team. Yeah, I think, for me, it's just been cool to see how the team's growing and see how the culture grows along with it in the right way.
Okay, Brian, let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
Here's what I'll say about that. I think, and this one's totally on me. When we started, as I mentioned, fall 22, early 23, we're trying to figure stuff out and then doing some customer interviews, and we were really locked in on our product azimuth in 2024. One thing I just didn't see coming in 2023, 2024 is just how noisy the AI SOC marketplace would become. You've got 50, 60 companies here. Seemingly every time I turn around, there's another announcement and another team in the space, and it starts to all sound the same. And to be fair to everyone in this space, right, that's the market saying, hey, there's real needs here, right? We've got the people who are in there putting their shoulder into the fight every day in the SOCs. We got to do better for them, right? We owe it to them. They deserve the best kind of tech that we can possibly give them to be able to blunt the threat vectors that are coming at them every second of the day. But we didn't know it was going to be that many. As we started building our team and our tech and our approach, I think we probably kept our voices quiet for too long. We invested heavily and continue to on engineering and product. That's what this is about. But we didn't, there frankly, cards on the table. There's a lot of noise in the space. There's a lot of marketing money being spent by companies in the space. And we didn't want to be one of those companies who ran the risk of overpromising and under-delivering because we had a big marketing budget, a big marketing team. So we underinvested in that. We just didn't put a lot of money. We didn't build the team out. We've had to include, up until recently, a small but mighty, intrepid band of folks who were heading out in the marketplace to evangelize on our behalf. And to be fair, like, we're at a better balance point now. I think we found that right balance, but I think we kept our voices quiet a little bit too long. We love what we hear from customers. We know what our reputation is in the space, and we're proud of that. We know that our reputation is as a team and a technology and a product that delivers, right? We hear it from customers. We've heard it from the very beginning with design partners. So we've got a great story to tell. And I think we all feel a little bit more confident and that we can be more full-throated about team and the technology and the approach and what we bring to our customers. But yeah, I think on that one, that I got to own that. But we're making up for lost time, that's for sure.
Okay, this will be fun. Let's move forward. What does the future look like for Andesite? For what you're building, the product, for the team, the whole 9 yards?
Any answer that doesn't focus on we've got to continue to deliver for our customers in the SOC landscape probably isn't a good answer, right? It's not credible. So we've built a platform, as I said. We absolutely architected and engineered a platform to deliver strategic context at scale and speed for human decision makers. And that first product that we brought to market is in the SOC space. So our roadmap right now, the most important thing that we can be doing as a team is to be delivering for our customers. Number one, again, that customer success function is huge, and we're really excited about a really powerful team we've built out in that regard. I think too, obviously, we have to continue to scale and grow what it is that we're doing. So continue to grow that customer base, listen to our customers, continue to refine the technology, refine the approach so that we continue to get great feedback on customer usage metrics, right? None of us want to build something, again, that just sits on a shelf. So I think at a meta level, macro level, deliver for your customers and really be seen as that team that is solving hard problems in hard environments for customers who have a very thin margin of error. So we're doing that. We got to keep doing that, and we're going to scale that up. I think beyond that, Noah, again, we built a platform, connects to a lot of things. So there's an obvious extensibility there for us as we look at other product offerings in quarters to come. We're very excited about, where we're now seeing the ability to broaden that aperture a little bit and continue to build on the successes that we're having in the SOC space. That's what the future holds for us. Get after it right now and deliver for the people who need it in the SOC. And we've got great confidence in a platform approach of architecture and a compliance approach that will let us start to expand what it is that we're offering to customers here in the very, very near term.
Let's switch to you, Brian. Who influences the way that you work? Name a person or many persons or something you look up to, and why.
Someone who, and I'm not trying to in any way be hokey about this. When I look at other startups, like startups that have scaled and been super effective at what they do, those founders, those leaders who've been able to stay true to themselves, stay true to their ideas, but also be able to onboard and incorporate feedback from customers in a way that is done with speed and with purpose, that's powerful for me. For me, honestly, I didn't grow up in the cyberspace, right? I was in the special operations realm. I was first team into Afghanistan and did all the counterterrorism wars. My movement to cyber and technology started, as I said, 4 or 5 years ago. The straight answer here, people who influence my thinking and how I do my job, talking to customers, right? Walking into a SOC and just seeing what's going on there, looking at the enormity of the threat, the enormity of the risk. I have 32 years in public service. So when I retired from CIA, that's really all I had known. And I have plenty of teammates and colleagues from across the military special operations realm, across CIA, who've gone through that transition. That can be hard because you're going from something that you feel a lot of belonging and a real mission type focus in those types of roles, particularly the ones that I was grateful to be a part of in CIA. If you don't find something that's got that same appeal, there can be drift, right? That can be a difficult sort of chasm to bridge. But for me, being able to be a part of this team, to be able to be a part of trying to solve some of these challenges that our cybersecurity professionals face is straight up, it's a huge honor. So it's super motivating for me. It's energizing. I get up every day. It's something I'm happy to be a part of. But for me, shaping my thinking, how am I going about what I'm doing, talking and hearing from customers, and oftentimes hearing things that aren't working. Andesite, this thing's awesome, but it'd be even more awesome if it can do this or do that. Or, hey, we got to put some more cycles at this part of what we're doing. That stuff is super motivating because it gives us something to focus in on and to fix. And I take a lot of energy from that.
Brian, last question. So you're getting on a plane and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it and they can't wait to show it off to the world and can't wait to show it off to you right there on the plane. What advice do you give that person, having gone down this road a bit?
It feels presumptuous for me to be even answering a question like that. It's not like I'm in a position to be waxing experiential necessarily here 3 or 4 years into my journey. A couple of things that come to mind right away, just as I look at decisions I made, mistakes I've made. Yeah, I'd say number one, take care of yourself, right? Be resilient, believe in yourself, believe in that idea, but just know that, these are going to be long days. Like all of the laws of nature are really lining up to crush whatever your idea, whatever your dream is, right? Like the startup space, there's a whole lot of reasons why early stage companies don't make it. For the founders that had that drive, had the fire, the landscape has so many examples of companies that beat the odds and founders who had the idea and had the passion, had the belief and the convictions. So be true to yourself, follow that conviction, follow that belief, be resilient, right? Have those go-to behaviors that you can tap into, whatever they are, so that you can reset yourself a little bit, right? You can get yourself back into that sort of flow state as an entrepreneur and as a founder quickly when setbacks happen, because they will, right? You're going to meet investors who might look at your idea and go, that's just not the right fit at the right time, or we're over-indexed in that space, or you're going to have setbacks. You're going to have customer churn early on. You're going to have your heart set on landing that one design partner. And for whatever the reason is, it might not happen. So to be able to bounce back, believe in yourself. And honestly, I had someone tell me, I think it was about 6 months ago, I came in, I was talking to the folks on the Andesite team. Someone goes, that's why you're the CEO. And I was like, I don't know. I would kind of smile. And he goes, no, I mean the chief energy officer. And not that I'm there to be clapping up everyone with sort of false praise, but to say that for that person I'm talking to on the flight, people are going to be looking to her, right? Or to him. And that vision, that belief, that's got to translate sometimes and manifest itself to the people in your team in a way that's empowering and inspiring. You've got to get that conviction. So I'd say go for it. Be ready for the ups and downs. Maybe invest in some sleep monitoring technology, see what impacts your sleep and what doesn't, but be prepared to jettison all that right away when it keeps telling you every day that something disrupted your sleep. Odds are it's the fact that you're in a startup, but it's a tremendously rewarding place to be. The sky's the limit in terms of the things that the right founding team with the right vision, the right energy and ability to team, you can move mountains and really change things in the world. So that's a pretty exciting place to be. So I'd say go for it and best of luck.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And that's fantastic advice. Well, Brian, thanks for being on the show today. And thank you for telling the creation story of Andesite.
Thanks, Noah.
And this concludes another chapter of Coat Story.
Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.
Working across teams is tough, but Asana helps you handle it. That's because Asana is where humans and AI coordinate work together. AI can spot roadblocks and assign work in a snap, so everything and everyone stays on track. That's how work gets handled. That's Asana. Visit us at asana.com. That's ASANA.com.
What does leadership really look like? On The Power of Advice, a new podcast series from Capital Group, you'll hear from athletes, entrepreneurs, and executives who've led on the field, in the boardroom, and in their communities. It's not about titles. It's about impact. Discover what drives them and the advice they carry forward. Subscribe and start listening today. Published by Capital Client Group, Inc.